Come on in. Do you do? Do, 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 do. Stuck him down. No, I don't think he'll come up. Just sharing it. I wonder if you have your phone. I have a feeling Robert didn't get the email. He doesn't realize that class is here, not in the house. Just let him know. I won't start without you. Good evening. We're going to be started here in a moment.
How's that skier doing? How's that skier
30
doing?
seconds away from starting. I'm just sharing it on another platform. There we go. We got it on all the platforms. Just letting one or two more people into the classroom. Good to see everyone. Good to see you, Stefan. Good to see you, Eliyahu. Good to see you, Mitchell. Good to see you, Yaakov, James. Good to see you, Marjorie, Kim, Ruth. All of you joining on Facebook. Just waiting for Seth to walk in the door. He went to let one of our students know that I'm broadcasting from home tonight, not from the shul. I don't want people to be standing outside the shul not knowing. You don't need a chumash tonight because we're going to talk about Purim and about the scroll of Esther. Purim is less than a week away. We've got to delve deep. I'm going to give Baruch just another second to get in the door.
How is the skier doing?
Good evening, Luis. Baruch. Okay. I was waiting for you, Baruch. Okay, we're starting. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, we're not going to study in the Parsha. We're going to study on the scroll of Esther on the Megillah. You went to the shul?
Yes, we sat there for 10 minutes.
I walked it. Generally, by 10 to 7, you don't see me there. It's one of two things. Either I'm in New York or I'm giving class from my house. So we don't. It's okay. We'll see you. When I sent out the email, I'm going to give you credit. When I sent out the email about the Parsha, you were in highlight digging snow. So we are less than a week away from the holiday of Purim. Those of you that have been around long enough know that the Scroll of Esther is my favorite book in the entire Tanakh. Just like Joseph is my favorite guy in the whole 5 books of Moses. Just a personal preference. I like his story. I like his life. I find it fascinating. The Scroll of Esther is the story of all stories. It's a story that we can relate to most. I'm pretty certain, based on my recent research, that Ayatollah Khomeini and Tucker Carlson are both grandchildren of Haman, of Haman. I'm confirmed, and that's not a Purim joke. That's my personal truth. But the Megillah is laden literally from the first verse to the last verse. Every single verse, every single nuance has layers and layers of a story that I think relates to so much of what we experience as Jews. Just even today, as a side note, it's not the purpose of today's class, it's not the goal, but I was listening to a 5-minute clip of Rabbi Eisenberger. My friend Shalom Kushner lives in Borough Park. He has a rabbi there, Rabbi Eisenberger. If you want to see a beard, if you remind me after class to send you a picture of Rabbi Eisenberger, he has this beard that, let's just say, goes past his belly button, but it's thin, and he has this image. Rabbi Eisenberger was talking about the oddity of the beginning of the Megillah, which is not what I'm going to talk about, but I think it's just fascinating to share that Vashti, the first queen in the story of Purim, the one who eventually is executed by her psychotic husband, she was a daughter of Belshazzar. She was a daughter of the king who took over after Nebuchadnezzar. She was royalty. And the only reason Achashverosh, Xerxes, the king in the story of Purim in the scroll of Esther, became king was because he married a woman that was a princess from the royal family. But he never accepted that, which is, again, a level of ingrate, of a person that has no gratitude. His entire ascension to power is because he married the princess. But what does he do at the party? He says, I want you to come and show off your beauty. What he was really telling her is that I don't care about your gene pool. I'm not married to you because you're part of the royalty. I'm married to you because you're a pretty woman. Of course, she wasn't interested. She wanted him to recognize her for being the daughter of the king. She wanted him to recognize that without her, he would not be king. And of course, with the advice of Haman, Memuchan, he ends up executing her. And then he decides, you know what, next time around, I'm only going to find the queen who has no royalty, just someone for their pure, sheer physical beauty. So he makes a beauty pageant for 6 months. What does Mordechai, Esther's cousin, the leader of the Jewish people, tell his cousin? He says, I want you never to tell anyone who you are. Look at the plot twist. He didn't want Achashverosh to pick her because of who she was, so he shouldn't know she's Jewish. Figuring that he won't pick her. She's a nobody. She's an orphan girl. Not realizing that Achashverosh was specifically looking for someone that had no heritage, so he shouldn't have the same trouble he had with Vashti, where she has some kind of lineage. But only Hashem could have prophesied, could have ordained that Mordechai's plan for Esther not to say who she was, for a totally different reason, so that she shouldn't get picked, ends up being the reason she does get picked, even though she was picked specifically because he didn't know that she had the lineage. And of course, she was more royal than Vashti. She was royalty because she was part of the Jewish people, which ended up being the salvation of the entire story. My point of sharing that, in addition to the fact that I just heard it today and it really excited me, is that every line in the Megillah is like that. So I want to turn your attention today to chapter 3 in the Megillah. And here is where Haman, the king, agrees to do lots, to draw lots. They pick a day in which they're going to eradicate the Jews. And here's the statement from Haman. Vayomer Haman lamelech Achashverosh. Haman said to King Achashverosh, Yeshnoi am echad. There is one nation. Mefuzar u'mefoyred beino amim, scattered and dispersed amongst the nations. Bechol medinais malchusecha, throughout the provinces of your kingdom. So there's this one group of people who are scattered and dispersed across your entire empire of 127 nations, right? Because remember, Persia was the greatest empire of the time. They ruled over Mehoidu Vad Kush, which means from India to Ethiopia. They ruled the vast majority of the inhabited part of the world, of civilized world. So there's a nation that's spread out and dispersed across all the provinces of your kingdom. V'daseim shoynes mikolam, and their laws are unlike those of any other nation. There's this group of Jews. They have their own set of rules. They run their own program. And it's making me crazy. They do not observe the king's laws. Rashi says that Haman told Achashverosh, they don't pay the king's, they don't pay the taxes for the king's services. They don't need our services. They run on their own. And it's not in the king's interest to tolerate them. So if the king would be so kind to write an edict, he should sign a decree that they should all be destroyed. The annihilation of the Jewish people. Now, there's a lot of medrash explaining the details of what happened here. First, you have the angel Michael, the angel Michael in heaven. That everything that Haman was saying here in this world to the king, the angel was also using to defend the Jewish people up on high. So he said to God, the angel Michael, Malach Michael, the angel Michael says to God, Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the universe, your children are not being persecuted because they served idols. Haman's not coming after them because they were serving idols, or for illicit relations because they're not living morally, nor for murder. They're being persecuted for observing your laws. What did Haman say? They have their own set of laws and they don't follow your laws. So instead of using it as a negative, the angel says to God, hey, the people are being persecuted not because they're misbehaving, they're being persecuted because they're standing out doing their own thing. So God said to the angel, I swear, I have not forsaken them until now, and I will not forsake them now. It says, may God does not forsake his people. So whether they are guilty or innocent, God says to the angel Michael, to the angel Michael, forsaking them is impossible since the world cannot exist without them. So he says to the angel, you have nothing to worry about. Haman can plan all he wants. Tucker could sit around and make all his plans for the Jews. It won't work. So when you read the verse where, it seems like Haman is talking to the king, you could also read it where it says, and it is not in the supernal king's interest to leave them alone in the hands of their enemies, since the world cannot exist without them. So God is saying to them, don't worry. God is saying to the angel, don't worry, the Jews are not going anywhere. But what transpired here in this world, and this is very, very important, because we're literally watching it transpire. If I sat here even last year, I don't know if I would say this, but we're sitting and watching it transpiring in real time in our life. The Medrash says that the verse says, Yeshnoi am echad, there is one nation. The word there is in Hebrew is Yeshnoi. So one Medrash says the word Yeshnoi comes from the word Yashin, sleeping. That Haman told Achashverosh, you have nothing to worry about. The Jewish people are asleep. And that their God has abandoned them. He's also asleep. Which of course isn't true. And give Haman an A for effort, but he tried. He tried to convince Achashverosh, which tells you how the Jewish people's existence, what it does to these people's minds is wild. You think about it. You think about the crazies, the Candaces, the Hassans, Mehdi Hassan, the Khomeinis, the Joy Reids, all the people, half the people on The View, they have nothing better to do every day than to talk about the Jews.
Even have some Jewish person do him wrong.
Sure. Every Jewish person did him wrong. Our existence did him wrong. That's true anti-Semitism. That's true Jew hatred. Imagine, Mordechai, there was one Jew who wouldn't bow to him. So what? One Jew. So kill the Jew. Why kill all the Jews? Because one Jew wouldn't bow. Because they know the truth. He said it in the beginning. What was the first words Haman said? Yeshnoi am echad, there is one nation. He was recognizing when the Jewish people are one, when we are one for all and all for one, when we are one, nothing can stop us. You could disperse us amongst all the nations. You come for us, we are one. But it's more than that. Yeshnoi, the word Yeshnoi, which I said before, means there is, which also means sleeping, also comes from the word in Hebrew, shein. Shein is a tooth. And you want to hear this incredible medrash about teeth? What does teeth have to do with anything? The medrash in Esther Rabbah says something that Haman told Achashverosh. When I was reading it this afternoon, I was like, now we're talking. Haman said to Achashverosh, these Jews are big-toothed. They have big teeth. What did he mean? He said they eat and drink, saying that it's for the light of Shabbos or the delight of the Jewish holidays. And since they buy so much food, they cause the price of food to rise. It's like literally a blood libel, like today. Everything the Jews do. If we go to war, it's our problem. If we don't go to war, it's our problem. If we're Democrats, it's a problem. If we're Republicans, it's a problem. Conservative, liberal, secular, religious, no matter what you do and how you do it, the haters will hate. Haman says to Achashverosh, the Jewish people have too many holidays. They're big tooth. They eat too much. And because they have so many Shabbos and holidays, food prices are going up because of them. It's a new one. Someone should immediately text Tucker, tell him there's a new thing he could attack us for. But the Medrash gets even more interesting. He says, once a week they have Shabbos. Once a month they have Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. During the month of Nisan, he said to them, they have Passover. During the month of Sivan, they have Shavuos. During the month of Tishrei, they have Rosh Hashanah, their New Year. They have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. They have Sukkot, the Festival of Booths, or the Festival of Harvest. We can't keep up. When he said to them in the verse, V'daseyem shoynes mikolam, they run their own damn program. It is not healthy for this nation to have people. They have every Shabbos, every Rosh Chodesh. Every time you blink, there's another holiday, another Yontif. Right? That's how many of our bosses think of us at work. I remember one time I think Chaya was telling the school about Shavuos in Longfellow, and they were like, I think part of them really wasn't sure if she was just making up another holiday because they heard already about so many of them. But at this point, we were already almost in June, and she's like, here we go, another 2-day holiday. And the reality is we have a lot of them. So Haman comes to Achashverosh and says, Shneim Gdolos. These people have two of these big things. What are the two big things? Shabbos and holidays. And in the holidays themselves, he went on a whole rant against the holidays. And he threw in there just for fun that they're eating too much, which is causing prices to go up. So Achashverosh turns to Haman and says, but that's what they're commanded to do in their Torah. Achashverosh, as crazy as he was, these crazy psychotic people, but they're, like Assad used to be. If anyone studied Assad in Syria, he was a murderer, a mass murderer, a sick tyrant, but it doesn't mean he was stupid. Dictator, yeah. Tyrant, yeah. Mass murderer, yeah. It doesn't mean you're stupid. Achashverosh, there's a lot of discussion about it, whether he was super smart or super stupid, and I'm not sure I'm not sure it's a contradiction. Sometimes you can be super smart and act super stupid. So he says, but doesn't it say in their Torah, aren't they commanded to follow the holidays? So Haman says to him, if they would observe their holidays and our holidays, they would be acting well. But they disdain our holidays. They don't want to observe the laws of the king. They don't want Halloween and Easter. Someone asked me today if I do Lent. No, they didn't know. Really? Yeah, you see, I'm like, listen, I would. I'm just very busy with Purim and Pesach. I don't have time for Lent. Good Friday, Good Tuesday, Happy Wednesday, whatever their holidays are. Haman says to Achashverosh, you're right. God commanded them in their Torah. But it's not that they're just doing their holiday. They don't participate in ours. Where are they at Christmas? Whatever the other cockamamie holidays they have over there. They don't have a lot. Easter, I said already. They don't have a lot. They make up holidays. They didn't have enough, so they made up random things like Labor Day, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, St. Patrick's Day, so they can get drunk as if they're not drunk the rest of the year. I'm in Montana. You need a special day to get drunk. They're drunk Agantzio. The whole year they're drunk. What do you need a special holiday for that? So Haman says to Achashverosh, we can't handle them because they don't play both sides. They only live with their religion. So what is God? God sees this conversation, and Hashem said something incredible. The Medrash says, God said, you're casting an evil eye upon my children's holidays, against the Jewish holidays. I will cast you down before them. I'll knock you down, Mr. Haman. And I'm going to set up a new holiday to celebrate your downfall, and that's the holiday of Purim. And that is a very, very powerful statement, because what the Medrash is really saying, and what I'm sharing with you tonight mostly, from an incredible talk from the Rebbe from Purim of 1970. In general, I wish you guys spoke Yiddish, because if you did, it's one of the most enjoyable things in the world is to listen to the tapes, the audio of the Rebbe's Farbrengens on Purim. Purim is the only holiday of the year that the Rebbe would say L'chaim, meaning significant amount of L'chaim, and he would talk in a way that he didn't talk all year, and I say that in the most beautiful way. There was moments of humor, there was moments of picking on people, but again, in a cute way. He made people say L'chaim, he called people out, he spoke about, with humor, similar to what I do at a lot of classes. I'm not, God forbid, comparing myself to the Rebbe. I'm just saying it was more of a homey situation where the Rebbe would address the American lifestyle and make quite a bit of good jokes about how Americans live their life versus a Torah lifestyle. It was a great, so Purim 1970, the Rebbe said as follows. Every Jewish holiday has a reason for why we have it. Passover, the 15th day of Nisan, because the Jews left Egypt, they left slavery, they were liberated from slavery to freedom, and therefore we had a special holiday. Shavuos, we counted 50 days from the Exodus, from when we bought the barley offering, the Omer offering, and 50 days later we came to Sinai and we got the Torah. Rosh Hashanah, New Year, Adam and Eve were created. Yom Kippur is a Day of Atonement. We commemorate the second Luchos, the idea of forgiveness, the second tablets. Sukkot, we commemorate the festival of booths. It's commemorate with something. Shabbos, even the weekly Shabbos, we say in our prayers, it comes from the verse in actually it's in next week's Torah portion, not this week, but next week. Kishesh Yamim, Asa Hashem es Hashemayim es Haaretz. In 6 days, God made heaven and earth. Vayoyim Hashvi, Shabbos ve'inapash. And on the 7th day, He rested and relaxed. So we have the special day of rest called Shabbos. So when Haman comes to Achashverosh, he says they have all these holidays. Every one of those holidays has a specific purpose. That's why we do them. What does God say to Haman? Not to Haman, but about Haman. You try to mess with the particulars of the Shabbos and the holidays in your honor, as you're having your downfall and you're going to be downcast. I'm going to make a holiday that's going to celebrate all the holidays. Meaning you try to make fun of and get rid of all the Jewish holidays. I'm going to make a holiday to celebrate the fact that we have holidays. Purim is the holiday, not of a particular event. It's really a holiday celebrating the fact that Haman did not succeed in messing with our holidays. So it's a central holiday to celebrate all holidays. And it has a uniqueness that you don't see anywhere else. Not only did he get back at Haman saying, oh, you want to mess with the holidays? We gave you another one, which I tell her we're soon going to have the holiday of Tucker. There's going to be a holiday for Iran, for Tucker. We're going to have a new holiday for the haters. Can't wait for it. Tucker Owens. But it's very, very interesting, the Rebbe says, that every other holiday, you're biblically mandated to be joyous. But the Rambam says, clearly about the other holidays, every other holiday, that you shouldn't drink too much wine. You shouldn't get too frivolous. Shouldn't get too intoxicated, because that will get you off your spiritual and holy path of the holiday, and it's going to end up being a party instead of a spiritual experience. In other words, it's a biblical holiday limited to a specific event that we are commemorating, Pesach for the Exodus and Shavuos for the Torah, but it's limited to a particular event, and therefore the celebration has to also be a limited one without getting carried away to the point where it ruins the content of the holiday. Purim, on the other hand, in the Code of Jewish Law, it says, Chayiv inish lepsumi b'puraya, that a person is obligated to become intoxicated, inebriated during Purim, until you don't know the difference between blessed is Haman and between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. In other words, because the holiday of Purim is a central holiday celebrating the fact that Haman did not take away our holidays, so it's a holiday to celebrate all holidays. It's not limited to one particular event that we're commemorating. So the celebration is also not a limited one, but one in which you get totally blown out of your can, where you don't know the coming and going. And however you interpret that, you can interpret that with alcohol, you can interpret it with sleeping, you can interpret it with joy. I'm not encouraging intoxication. It's not my job. Although Baruch, you had the opportunity for at least 10 years at the Baxter to have the honor of driving me home after the Purim party. You were my designated driver. There are consequences for not drinking. Just saying. But the reality is that we have a Yom Tov, the Jewish people, we have a Jewish holiday to celebrate the fact that we get to celebrate. I think I wrote it in my newspaper article this past week. I can't remember. I wrote it somewhere. I think it was in my newspaper article in New York that I write every week. I think I wrote that when I was at this wedding in New York last week, I realized that when you come from out of town, right? If you're in New York, you go to a wedding 3 times a week. Your friends making a wedding, your kids, it's a normal thing. You have 2 engagement parties, 3 weddings, 4 brisses. A normal week, you're going to 10 different simchas. When you're in Montana, you don't. So when you come to New York and you get to attend a Orthodox wedding, you're not only celebrating the bride and groom. I wrote this. I said, you're also celebrating the fact that we are Jews. We know how to celebrate. We have a unique way of celebrating. So when I was dancing at the wedding, of course I was dancing with the bride and groom for Tova and Tzvi, but I was also celebrating because I was watching how we do it. And it's good for a rabbi from Montana to pop in and remember how it's done and why we are different. And why the Hamans of the world can't get it. They end up gifting us the greatest gifts. Everything they say about us that's a negative, they don't realize how they're literally prophesizing how great we are. You think if you pay close attention to the things that they spew at us, they don't, like they talk, the Jews own the banks. What you're really trying to say is that you can't handle the fact that the Jews are more charitable than any group in the world. There is no group in the world, not the Saudis, not the Qataris, not the billionaires in Davos. There's no group of people in the world that give tzedakah like Jews. But you can't say that because it's going to make us look good. Not close. They do tithing. Yeah. Jews do 20, 30, 50%. They're good people, not complaining about the Mormons, but when it comes to tzedakah, everything they say,
Is tithing different though?
No, tithing's 10%. Okay. But most Jewish philanthropists are giving a lot more than 10% to tzedakah. A lot more than 10%. So they want to say, oh, you own the banks. Thank you for the blessing. I know it's very hard for you to say this. We give a lot of charity. Right now, there's a guy trying to do, how come there's these Jews with their own ambulances running around New York? Who do they think they are? Some kind of police force? It's your way of saying you're jealous of the fact that Jews have our own ambulance service, Hatzalah, so that if a Jew needs an emergency, instead of waiting 20 minutes for an ambulance from EMS, in 30 seconds, there's a guy at their door with defibrillators to save their life. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I know it was hard for you to say that. You had to come out backwards and say it negatively. I got it. They're committing genocide in Gaza. I understand. It was very hard for you to say that we kicked your butt when you murdered our people and we came back with a vengeance and the Jews are not living in a ghetto anymore and we could defend ourselves. I understand it's very hard to have to come out of your mouth. So instead, you make fun of us. You claim that we committed something that never happened. I know you think it's weird and you talk about how weird it is that Jews wrap themselves in these weird black boxes in airports while they pray. I apologize. I know it's really hard for you to recognize that you guys barely go to church once a week, even though you don't even want to. And we pray 3 times a day, no matter what, wherever we are, on a plane, on a boat, on a helicopter, we pray 3 times. I got it. You have a hard time expressing yourself. Let me help you. And so on and so forth. They literally cannot help themselves. Haman looks at the Jew and says, they live in my country. They speak our language, but they run their own program. They don't follow our rules. They don't want to do Halloween with us. They don't want to do trick-or-treating. They have Purim. They have Pesach. They have Rosh Chodesh. They have Shabbos. Right, in this house in general, Chavi and I joke every week. Every week, Chavi and I joke that it feels like every day is Shabbos. Every time we turn around, it's Shabbos again. You blink and it's Shabbos. Oh, you have Rosh Hashanah, but you also have Yom Kippur, and you have Sukkot, and you have Simchas Torah. Then you have Chanukah, and you have Purim, and you have Tu B'Shvat, and Shavuos, and Lag Boimer. And then you have a couple days of fasting we can't keep up with you guys, so we're going to hate on you. But it's also an incredible reminder to the Jew. This verse that Haman told Achashverosh while he was demanding to get a decree is a very, very important message that even when we're dispersed and we're exiled and we're scattered amongst the nations, We have to remember that we are Yeshnei Am Echad, that we should never forget we are a unique and a one nation. And what that means is we are meant to be a light unto the world, as the prophet Yeshaya says in Isaiah, La'or Goyim, we should be a light unto the world. Stick to your principles even when you're scattered. And sometimes when a Jew is in exile, I would say more often than not, it can be very intimidating. We had a whole discussion at the men's club about the yarmulke, wearing a yarmulke in public. Now, for me, it's no novelty. I've never lived a day in my life without a yarmulke because I have no idea what it's like without. Oh, Mark always wears his yarmulke. Yeah, Mark wears his yarmulke as far as ever since I known him. But you were the first one, actually. When I moved to Bozeman, you wore a yarmulke, and you were the guy in town that wore a yarmulke. And you and Quincy. But wearing a yarmulke, especially after October 7th, very good, Eliyahu, wearing a yarmulke after October 7th, a lot of people are uncomfortable. It's intimidating. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? First of all, let me tell you that, again, as someone that's wearing yarmulke his whole life, nothing but respect. Anti-Semites are very cautious. Now, are they cautious because we have a Second Amendment? Are they cautious? Are they cautious because we have laws in this country? Maybe a little bit more cautious, but I did the same in Amsterdam. I walked through throngs of Muslims with Palestinian flags, with me and many both wearing our yarmulkes. I don't think I'm so special. I don't think they just didn't pick on me because I'm Chaim Brook. I don't think they saw my credentials. I think they just didn't. And so it's an important reminder. Haman was saying to Achashverosh, but it's a reminder to us that when we find ourselves in exile, we have to remember that only a Jewish body is in exile. The soul is never in exile. The soul of a Jew cannot be in exile, and no nation whatsoever, good, by the way, even good nations, no one has control over the Jewish soul. The most they can do is control our bodies. So even when we're in exile, don't forget who you are. Don't forget you're Am Echad, you're a one nation, you have different rules. You have all the energy you need, all the gifts from heaven to go out of the boundaries of the limitations and live your life spiritually, because the limitations of exile can only limit your body. They can't limit your soul. So whether you find yourself in Israel, find yourself outside in the diaspora, or even if you find yourself in some far, far place of the world, I don't know, Cutbank. About to get 100-mile-an-hour winds in Cutbank tomorrow.
Bali.
Where?
Bali.
Bali, Indonesia?
Yeah.
Cutbank is a lot more distant than Bali. But no matter where a Jew finds himself, they have to remember you are a representative, whether you like it or not. The Hamans of the world will always see you as a representative of the Jewish people, part of that one nation, and that will be the case until Mashiach comes, and therefore you have only one job, and that is to ask yourself, am I going to show up as an unbridled, unyielding, unlimited, boundless, infinite soul that happens to be in a body, that happens to be in exile, but it doesn't limit me because my soul is on fire. My soul is not limited at all. Who can limit my soul? Right? You put someone in a prison cell, you can limit their soul? No, you can put their body in a cell. You can't stop their soul from living and living meaningfully and finding inner purpose and finding inner spark. So collectively as well, whether you live in America where we have the most freedom, whether you live in Russia, whether you live in Romania, whether you live in Israel, you could be in Israel being totally in a state of exile. Exile is a state of spirituality. But only our bodies are in exile. They can kill our bodies, they can maim our bodies, they can incarcerate our bodies, they can threaten our bodies. The thing that makes the Hamans of the world bananas, and makes them go absolutely bananas, they are hoping and praying that if they intimidate us, we'll stop wearing our tefillin, we'll stop lighting Shabbos candles. And by the way, it didn't work for him in the story of Purim. Story of Purim, he was certain, right? Logic would say, well, if he's messing with the Jews because we're too public, maybe we should start doing our Judaism in hiding. And then maybe Haman will be nice to us. And what did Mordechai do with the Jews? He inspired them. Go bigger, go louder, go more public. He gathered 22,000 Jewish children and he sang with them. He taught them the verses that we say in our prayers, Al-Tira Utsu Eitz of the Sufor, right? Which we say in our Friday night. We say it every day, but we Friday night in davening, right? What do we say? Do not fear sudden terror, nor the destruction of the wicked, conspire, plot, but it will not materialize. That's what Mordechai was learning with the children. We don't back. Okay, we're not testing your memory. We don't back down. We don't back down. We keep proud. We keep our head high, and we remember that no one on CNN, and no one on Fox, and no one on MSN, whatever they call themselves these days, all 7 people that watch it, none of them can control what you are as a Jew. All they can control is where your body may end up. But your soul, Haman couldn't control it. He ended up going to the gallows himself. His grandson Tucker won't be able to control it. His other grandson Candace can't control it. His granddaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I should actually. Candace is a guy, right?
No.
No, I figured. How do you know? I'm just asking questions. Just asking questions. I think she's a guy. And then
He's a guy.
and then Khomeini. All of them will have such a downfall that the only thing we have to worry about is we're going to have enough food and alcohol to celebrate the next holiday that they will gift us when we're done. Not us. We're not going to take them out. We didn't take Haman out either. You know who took out Haman? His own king, Achashverosh. We're not going to take out Tucker. His own people will cause his downfall. B'mheira v'yameinu amen. We will see you at the next class. Shushan Purim, after Purim, the day